Welcome back to Section 4 fans. We're fresh off the holidays, and the sports world has not slowed down. A lot has been happening all around the world, so today we're hitting the gas, quick reactions, fast takes, and a rapid-fire rundown to catch up on everything you missed and everything you need to know. College football chaos, NFL playoff pushes, NBA headlines, and NHL streaks and shakeups. Let's speed through the weekend and get right to it. Real fans, real takes. Let's go. So obviously we kind of know who's in the playoffs for the NFL at this point, but we could go ahead and dive into college football. It's been, a hell of a playoffs so far. I think there's been a couple games that have been big letdowns. In my opinion, but there's also been very many games that have been, probably some of the best in recent memory. I was with you. Yeah, I was with you when
letdowns is A&M Miami because of the weather, the wind.
Yeah,
wind made
the weather
horrible.
there. That was just a pretty bad game altogether. Obviously, at this point, everyone knows Miami is into the semifinals, so that means they beat Texas Tech this past weekend.
By the time this is out, they could be in the final.
Yeah, by the time this is out, Miami could be in the final as they play tomorrow against Ole Miss, and that is going to be a hell of a game. But yeah, they gave belt to ass on Texas Tech, and I think that shocked a little bit of people, but I think Miami is just clicked. No, Texas Tech? What do you mean? How are you going to tell me they didn't give belt to ass to Texas Tech last weekend?
Who?
Miami, 2 weekends ago.
They didn't play Texas Tech.
Miami played Texas Tech.
They
Was it
played
Oregon?
A&M.
No,
Miami
the
played
second
A&M,
round. The
and then
second
Ohio
round.
State.
Oh, Ohio State. Okay, either way, belt to ass. Too many games to follow. Oregon played Texas Tech. That's right. Orange Bowl. Another belt to ass action there. Texas Tech didn't come out to play at all. It seemed like the first round bye teams were that was kind of not the route to take until it took us to the Rose Bowl, and that's when we saw the first team to have a bye actually win that game that they play. And Indiana came out and blew the doors off Alabama. In my opinion, it was a very good game from an Indiana perspective. Definitely what you love to see from Fernando Mendoza and Kurt Cignetti. Great team and program they've got going this year. Looking at Alabama, that was kind of a letdown. It almost kind of seemed that they kind of just gave up. I got to be honest. It didn't really look good late in the third.
Alabama's that good.
I think they just had a very good win against Oklahoma, but I think it just goes to show how good Indiana this year is. I mean, I saw a stat, Oregon's averaging like 400 plus yards per game on offense, but when they played Indiana, they were held to like 286 total yards on offense. So, that is also another stat that's going to be, pretty interesting to see how that shakes up this weekend as those two face off once again. But yeah, so with the Alabama game, Alabama's out. Ty Simpson has declared for the draft, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes amongst the QBs. Ohio State, obviously, as I jumbled up the games there. But Ohio State, they didn't play at all like anyone thought they would have, and their season ended, and Caleb Downs has now entered the draft. And same with Carnell Tate. So those two guys are going to be some pretty, sought after picks. I'd imagine. I think both of those two guys are probably top 10 picks at this point.
Maybe not Tate, but I think Downs.
No, I think Tate could be second receiver off the board potentially. It'll be interesting to see where he goes.
It's hard to draft a receiver in the top 10.
I know one mock draft I saw was him going to the Saints. So, pairing up again with former Ohio State receiver Chris Olave, that'd be interesting, especially because they kind of started getting stuff going late in the year there. Then, the Ole Miss Georgia game I think was At least in my opinion,
I mean, I
I
think in
would I
everyone's
would put
opinion, that
that.
was the best game.
Yeah, no, not even best game. I'd say best game of the year. Just any game that was played this year, I think that just ices the cake. I don't think anyone expected. Even though Trinidad has been, on a tear this season since he got the reins and taken over that offense, but I don't think anyone could have expected him to perform the way he did against Georgia's defense. I mean, it was truly incredible to watch a guy that wasn't even a day one starter this year on a roster, let alone, like, what was it, maybe, yeah, like 12 months ago just won the D2 title. So, he wasn't even in the SEC, let alone now he's in the college football playoff semifinals. And he had a hell of a game. Ole Miss's offense is incredible with Kwan Lacey and
And they have all that outside noise with coaches leaving.
exactly. Kind of going with that. They did allow, I think it's the running back coach and then Charlie Weiss, the offensive play caller, to coach in the semifinals. So that's good for the Ole Miss standpoint. All I got to say really about Ole Miss is I think they're one win away from Lane Kiffin regretting everything.
No, I don't.
I think he.
No.
It's just interesting. I think based on the way his career has gone, I think you could kind of tell that he's not a guy that really cares about national championships, to be honest, or like building a legacy at one school. It seems like he's just been chasing the money. Some routes that's what people want to take, but other guys prefer to build a program. But I think Ole Miss, they got a tough test against Miami, and then that's going to be tomorrow night, so that everyone will know what happens there when this comes out. Next game Friday is going to be.
Given thing you said. I don't think he's going to have any regrets win national championship or not. He's going to get paid either way if they win or not.
Yeah, but I just
here's
think
the thing.
personally, if I was him, I would have loved to actually have a national championship.
Yes, I agree.
Under your name, you know what I mean?
He's looking at the long run here. He's looking at Ole Miss can't pull
the recruits.
These guys out of high school like LSU.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
And that's what he was looking at. He's looking at how can I build the dream team that I've always dreamt of.
Yeah.
And he said, I can't do it at Ole Miss, even though I have all these good players and stuff. It has to be at LSU because of the history, the facilities, and
the NIL fund. The fact that any high school player in Louisiana wants to play for LSU.
It's just exactly. You
know what I mean? Like if you're a high school player in Mississippi,
you have Mississippi State, probably Bama.
Yeah, to be honest, they're probably more looking to go to Bama or just another bigger SEC school. Like Mississippi doesn't really have that like powerhouse university there in their state. But so I kind of get
they have big recruits that come out of Mississippi, whereas
no.
like Louisiana,
LSU is they nothing but dogs come up in there, but yeah, I mean it makes sense from Lane Kiffin's standpoint of trying to build a team he wants instead of trying to recruit in the portal every single year. Obviously he's having to do that this year, but I think he's hoping to build within after that. We got Friday's game, Oregon, Indiana, matchup of what we saw earlier in the year. This one's going to be interesting as, I think it's just going to rely heavily on offense in this game. I mean, that's every game, but I think
opposite is going to rely on defense based on watching Texas Tech, Oregon.
Well, I think Oregon's offense is going to have to get explosive plays if they want to win. I don't think they can kind of, manage the clock and get into the red zone and score. I think they're going to need explosive plays to beat Indiana. So,
I agree,
that one's just going to be a very good game.
I think it's going to be an ugly win. It's going to be gritty, ugly win, whoever wins that game.
Yep. I'm not sure. I know we're speeding through this. Not sure if you had anything else you wanted to touch on college football here. I was just going to go with picks for this weekend.
No, national championship pick. Because by the time this comes out, picks don't matter.
True. National championship pick. If I'm looking at it right now, I'll go Miami. I'll be different. I'll go Miami. I love me some Michael Irvin on the sideline, bro. It's too good.
I'm gonna stick with who I've said from the beginning, just based on the storyline. I think you know where I'm going with this. Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Um, with all the drama, it's made for a 30 for 30.
Yep.
It's made for a Netflix documentary. It's
No,
made
100%.
for it all. That's what it's
Yeah,
made for, I
that, that
believe.
that's why I'm really looking forward to this game tomorrow night. I think this is going to be just very good. I think Ole Miss, as you mentioned, they got the storyline, they got that kind of storybook type ending. It's in their grasp. They just got to get to the finish line, type of deal. And I think they got the guys to do it. Um, but yeah, I'm interested to see, how these last two games go before the championship, and then obviously on the 19th we got the championship, so that is going to be, the final chapter of this year's college football season, and then sooner or later we're going to have to roll into next year's. But
Should we go
that's just
NBA?
our that's a quick little update college football wise.
Let's go
We
NBA, NHL, or NBA,
we get end on
NHL,
NFL. That's
and
fine.
non-NFL. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, so NBA, I've kind of been following it a bit more since Christmas, I'd say. And the thing that really caught my attention today was Trey Young came out. This was
Yeah, that
probably an
was an
hour
hour
or two
ago.
hours ago. Trey Young traded from the Atlanta
It looks
Hawks
like
to
during the game
yeah.
against the
He
Pelicans,
wasn't playing though. He was sitting out.
because
He was injured,
yeah,
but so yeah, he was traded to the Washington Wizards for C.J. McCollum and Corey Kispert. That is right, just those two players, no picks, nothing else, almost like a bag of chips. I think it's probably it doesn't seem like a good trade in this moment. However, it does open a lot of cap space for the Hawks to really go after. I think what they need the most is a big man. They got the young guys, and they got Nikhil Alexander-Walker, they got Jalen Johnson. I think they just need a solid big to maybe they get rid of a Kungwu, or maybe they keep him, have him come off the bench, but also they could pair with Zashir Rashir, who was that first overall pick 2 years ago that everyone's forgotten about. I think the rumor right now is they're trying to go after Anthony Davis, which would be interesting. Obviously, a very great player, but career has been hindered by injuries. But
hmm
that's kind of my quick
maybe you need some Magic
snippet right
City.
here.
Maybe you need some Magic City,
You need
actually.
some Magic City wings,
Wings,
bro. That'll
that's
get
what he
him right,
needs.
bro.
That's what he needs.
Lou Willville.
Um, I wonder what's gonna Trey Young's obviously probably gonna get shipped off again before the trade deadline.
No. He wanted to go to the Wizards because the guy that drafted him on the Hawks back when he got drafted is now with the Wizards, and I guess he has some other, kind of like former staffers of his or whatever that are involved with
So
the Wizards. So he wanted to go there. The thing is, he's on a player option next year. So after this offseason, he'll probably take it because it's like $49 million option. So he'll take it because he's not going to get that in the free agency market, I'd imagine, this year. So he'll take that bread and then probably hit free agency after that.
so it's pretty much like he got traded there to run his own team.
Yeah, I mean, and also they can kind of build a bit more around him.
You talked to our NBA analyst,
I did. I was
Fred.
on call with our NBA guru analyst Drake Schramm for about an hour. We were talking, NBA and what's been happening. But
Talk a little bit about that combo real quick.
the Wizards. We were looking at the Wizards roster, and they don't have much. That was about all they really could have traded
Was
to the
McCollum
Hawks.
and
Obviously, I think it would have been a bit beneficial to maybe get a first round pick well into the future, so it's at
hmm
least valuable. But looking at their roster, they really don't have anyone. They got Baloo something Koulibaly. I don't know how to say the first name, but the last name's Koulibaly, and he hasn't really been that great. Obviously, they got Alex Sarr, who's kind of just been like up and down, but I think he's
hmm
their main guy right now. So they got like two bigs that can score. I think they're trying to pair Trey Young into that somehow. Maybe build a little bit in the future from. So that'll be interesting to kind of see how that shakes up over the next season and a half, kind of what his time at the Wizards looks like. But from the Hawks' perspective, yeah, I mentioned Anthony Davis. I do think they're going to get a big. If it's Davis or not, I think that's what they need. And the trade, it doesn't look very good, but it was primarily just to open up cap space. McCollum's on an expiring deal. So if the Hawks make another trade before the deadline, I would imagine he would be part of it.
Hawks have
Probably,
decently young core as well,
yeah.
right? They're
Jalen Johnson, Nikhil Alexander-Walker,
Yeah.
who just signed in the offseason from the Wolves. They got Onyeka Okongwu, and Dyson Daniels, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Believe so.
DeAndre Hunter.
No, he's on the Cavs.
Clint Capella.
He's not in
That's
the Hawks
how far
anymore.
behind
So
I am
so
in
yeah,
the
so you're a
NBA.
couple years behind, but that's what I'm saying is they really don't have a big. They got Porzingis right now, but he's been dealing with injuries. So I think ideally I would prefer a more healthier big than Anthony Davis, but I think that's where we're at there. I know we're about probably a little bit over a month away from the trade deadline in the NBA. I was talking with Drake, and we were trying to think of guys that probably could be moved before the deadline.
Timberwolves are going to make a move.
Yeah, that's what Drake was hoping for. He's a big Timberwolves fan, as you guys know, and he thinks what they need right now is an actual point guard. And they got the players, they got a little bit of cap, so I wouldn't be surprised if they make a move. They got Bones Highland, who's basically like a more developed Rob Dillingham. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rob Dillingham is moved, as he is younger, so he's going to be more valuable out of a majority of the guys on the team. So I think he may be on the move. But if I think if the Wolves can acquire a proven point guard, I think that could pair nicely, and maybe get a little bit of the load off of Ant. Obviously that's the mentality he wants, is he wants to be that guy, but I think it could just open up the game for the team as a whole, get different looks and whatnot, and that'll probably help him a bit too, because you see it gets to him sometimes, especially with Gobert missing these easy layups every now and then. But yeah, I think they're going to go after a point guard. I think, I think there's a couple guys that could be moved, but it's just very questionable. I think it's just a lot of tough contract situations, to be honest. It's going to be hard to kind of match those throughout the league. But, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the teams that have found themselves in a playoff spot around, at this point around the trade deadline, if they make some moves, kind of the one that I've been waiting for, watching out for. I think the Hornets could move on from LaMelo Ball.
Yeah.
But, I don't think the Hornets are in a rush to do that as well. That's what I was talking to Drake about. And, he was saying that he doesn't think they will. But he also mentioned that it appears that they are reducing his minutes, so his stats don't look as good as the two-time All-Star stats that they would be. And I looked at the box score from the game today, and he only had 25 minutes. Colin Sexton off the bench had like 22. So, Colin Sexton was probably getting majority of the minutes in that
little bit of soft
little
bench.
rotation. Yeah, I think that just to, kind of dumb that down, so the
value.
The value, but also so teams are enticed to kind of give him a good offer. But I just wouldn't be surprised if they move on from him, just because it seems like they got a pretty good young core with Knoepel and Brandon Miller right now. I think they could maybe trade him and get some better pieces to build around those two. The Thunder. Let me actually check. They were playing the Jazz, and they went to overtime against the Jazz. That's what me and Drake were watching about.
After this wrap up, let's go to NHL.
And the Jazz lost to the Thunder in overtime. But so the Thunder are now 31-7, and a lot of people were speculating, this is going to be the team that beats the Warriors' 73-9 record. It appears that's not the case anymore. They've been on, a little bit of a downward spiral since the Spurs have given them belt to ass 3 times in 2 weeks. It hasn't looked like the same Thunder's team, But they still got MVP Shea in there, so he's gonna do his thing and foul bait. But that's all good. I really ain't got much else NBA wise. I know once college football and NFL come to a close, I know we're gonna be diving into a lot more NBA, getting Drake on regularly to help us dive in there because that's gonna be majority of what we got. But yeah, we could swing it over to NHL real quick. You probably know and follow a little
Yeah.
bit more than I have. I'm a Ducks fan, so
Yeah,
our season
brief
started hot, but it died out pretty quick.
yeah, briefly on the NHL. I mean, Anaheim's dropped off quite a bit. They're sitting um
Not first
six
anymore.
six in the division. But to let you know how like tight these divisional races are, there isn't a team in the East that is below 500 win-loss record. The Western Conference, the top three teams in the Central Division could be first place in every single division in the NHL. That's Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota. Colorado only has four losses in regulation, with 69 points. Then Dallas is on 60, Minnesota on 58. The next closest is Tampa Bay, Carolina on 55 points.
Yeah, it seems like that trade for Hughes is kind of give a little bit of fire to the Wild. I know they lost against the
They
Kings,
started
but but
really
but but
slow.
they were on or have been on still on a pretty decent long road trip. So I think getting back on home ice will keep some W's going their way. But
Yeah, they have one more game on the road in Seattle, and then they
ooh,
come back home.
Kraken.
Yep. But no, I mean it helps goalie play. Goalie play has been huge for the Wild right now. Um, Being able to rotate both goalies in and out, who's ever hot, keep them in.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
they get rest, so they aren't playing every single night practically. They get worn out.
Yeah, that
I
uh, that definitely will have to drain the eyes a little bit there.
I mean it's been huge for the Wild. Pacific is kind of what you can guess. The Sharks with Celebrini. Celebrini is probably
Reeves. He just got he just got killed last night. I
I
saw that.
know they're asking him, Reeves about his
I saw that.
concussion
Yeah.
protocol, and he was like, I memorized everything, the passing or every some whatever. Um, but I mean the Sharks have the best player in the NHL probably right now,
Was he
Celebrini,
19, right? 18,
19
19.
years old. He's tearing up the league.
Named to Canada for the Olympics, correct?
Yeah, he is on Canada. Bedard missed. Uh,
That's gonna be fun to cover actually. Olympics coming up too.
Sam Bennett also missed. Um,
Interesting. A lot of big names.
yeah. USA also had quite a bit of bigger names missed as well. Adam Fox was the big one, defenseman for the Rangers,
Yep.
I believe still. Um, yeah, that's a big miss for USA.
Still got that the Chuck
Obviously.
brothers. Okay.
Yeah, Matthew hasn't played all season. He's come back from injury.
Okay.
Um,
So I doubt
he
he'll be a big time player then for us.
and then otherwise, um, other news in the NHL trade deadline also coming up. You're gonna see probably a lot of movement in the East just because of all these teams can make a push. Every single team's in the playoff race. Whereas, like, if you look at the West, you look at Winnipeg, they're struggling. Vancouver's struggling a lot. Calgary's struggling. Chicago's meh.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, Blue Jackets are sitting in last in
That's
in
not a
the
surprise.
Metropolitan, but if they win a couple games, they're right in a wild card spot.
Yeah,
And then
it's always interesting to see
it's
how it
same with
shakes out.
Ottawa and the Atlantic. So it's an interesting year in the East for sure. Um,
Yeah, I
looking
just
at
saw
looking at
the
goal differential right now, Colorado's on a plus 70 goal differential. Colorado is tearing it up this year.
yeah. Um, I just want to. You said Colorado. Did you see that the Mammoth are having the outdoor um,
I
classic next
I
year
didn't. It should be interesting.
against the Avs?
It should be interesting with elevation outside.
Hmm. But
Um,
I'm just glad it's in a more wintry place. I think the
it'll attract a lot more
yeah,
viewers.
I
It'll
think the game
attract.
in Miami against the Rangers and the Panthers, it was okay. I didn't get to watch much, but just watching it, it just didn't give the same effect.
I mean, they had Chuck and Barkov pretty much partying with the cup before puck drop
Yeah,
outside or just outside the rink, and it's like, what is going on? Like,
yeah,
it's turning into a show. And I remember
I,
growing up watching like I remember watching the Sabres Penguins shootout
yeah,
with
that was the first one.
Crosby. I remember watching that in those baby blue Pittsburgh jerseys, and every year seeing like Capitals, Pittsburgh, you'd see
It's
Blackhawks,
always some upper East
Bruins.
Coast, some
Bru-
Canada teams.
it was always kind of the original six playing in
Yeah,
it,
and
but
it's expanded a bit more. I know it went to Seattle a couple years ago, but like that's also a decently cold place as well. It was just interesting. So I saw that today. I thought that was that was going to be a pretty good game. I'd imagine the Mammoth with the owner they got. I think they're going to be able to put something pretty cool together up there.
yeah,
And again, and it's
definitely.
against Colorado, who is it's got to be their rival. I would imagine.
Um, switch over to NFL briefly before we
Yeah, yeah.
sign off here.
We can crank through. Kind of not sure what you had in mind. I just got some. Obviously there's been a ton of movement, head coaching, firings.
Yeah,
We could just
do you
I'll
have
just rip through
those?
those. We got Falcons. They fired their GM and head coach Raheem Morris, and the Browns fired two-time Coach of the Year Kevin Stefanski.
He's two-time
The
coach of the year.
the Raiders fired Pete Carroll after 1 year, and the Cardinals let go of Jonathan Gannon after 3. And after 18 years in Baltimore, John Harbaugh is out.
Hmm.
I watched that game against the Steelers, and I honestly, yeah, it was if Tyler Loop made that kick, I wouldn't be surprised if Tomlin was fired. And then if it was a miss, it was going to be Harbaugh. That's kind of just what it lined up, as a fan perspective, watching it as what it was going to be.
There was
And then
a
just missed
meme.
hit it. Yep,
There's
yeah,
a meme
that's what
where
I'm
it's
going off of.
Tomlin, and they make it Tomlin fired, either side is Harbaugh fired.
Yeah,
Um,
it is interesting. Harbaugh's been there a while. I think two-time Super Bowl winner as well. Very good coach. I think a lot of teams are going to be jumping to go after him, but I think Baltimore needed a little bit of change of scenery. I think they needed to, get some new blood into that building, and
hmm.
maybe they could see what happens next year. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if I see, a team that needs a head coach, New York Giants. I wouldn't be surprised if they heavily go after Harbaugh,
Hmm.
pair him up with Jackson Dart. I think that wouldn't be a bad idea. Also, a reminder: the Titans do have a vacancy as well. They let go of their coach a couple weeks prior to the final week, and maybe I doubt any college coaches will make the move. But you never know what could happen. But yeah, so I think from like a coaching perspective, I think it's going to be interesting to see how that carousel goes around this offseason. Who gets those jobs? Is there going to be a lot of those head coaches? Do they just get other head coaching jobs, or are we going to see some more coordinators get pulled into interviews and whatnot? Maybe land some big spots. I know some big names are Brian Flores. I think a lot of teams are going to go after him.
Hmm.
So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. I heard Robert Saleh is also being sought after. We saw how his stint with the Jets went,
Yeah, but
but
that's the Jets.
once again, it's the Jets. I mean, they're the only team to finish with no interceptions. So, not offensively, that would be incredible. Defensively, they didn't get a
I mean,
single
they
interception,
played like they didn't throw an interception because they
and
hardly
their
threw the
and their
ball.
leading receiver, 395 yards, Garrett Wilson, who like didn't play after week 6.
Yeah, he was
So yeah,
on
the
my
Jets are a bit of a
fantasy.
dumpster fire, but that's nothing new to anyone else. Kind of some player, I guess like headlines you want to say.
Oh God.
Miles Garrett. No, I'm not
Okay.
going there. Miles Garrett broke the sack record, 23. Now, obviously, some other people are gonna, bitch around a little bit. Oh, he did it in 17 games. Who cares? At the end of the day, I mean,
He's a
you would think
beast.
you would just applaud your fellow sportsmen. But no, I think some people want to claim their own records. I think he would have had it in 16, but that game against the Steelers, it seemed like they were doing everything but to try and get him to have that record. They did not care about the win at all. So I would have liked to see him get it in 16, because then obviously I don't think there would have been any discussion in that world.
No. And
You,
I don't think it's much of an argument that Miles Garrett is probably the scariest man to line up against.
Oh my God! Did you see his takeoff time? They compared it to Usain Bolt's when he broke the world record coming out of the thing, and it was like maybe like .02 difference.
Well, he's just a freak athlete. Like
Just an insane person.
windmill dunks basketballs. He's built like a Mack truck.
Hits like one too. I wouldn't want to
Yeah.
be
Oh
sacked
my
by him.
gosh.
Um,
And he's
yeah, just a
dating
hell of a player, and he's dating Chloe
the
Kim,
yeah, the snowboarder.
snowboarder. So that'll be interesting. Maybe we'll get him some,
Oh,
Olympic,
he's gonna be in
some
Italy.
Olympics time. Yeah, he'll be on the
Yeah.
Olympic screen
Yeah.
for sure. I wouldn't imagine, the amount of action Simone Biles has gotten in the NFL media since her Olympics. So I would imagine if Miles Garrett gets some too, there's some Olympians and some NFL players that are married and dating. So those are always pretty athletic combos putting together. But with Miles Garrett, I think insane player. I would just love to see him on a winning team. You know what I mean? Like imagine him on a team that's
The Vikings
making
under
playoff
Flores.
runs. Him, I think Flores would be drooling over Miles Garrett if he had him in that pass rush scheme. That would be absolutely incredible. They're already scary enough as is. That's just going to add fuel to the fire. I think there hasn't been too much kind of going around after the this past week. Matthew Stafford is now the favorite for MVP
Yeah,
over
that's
Drake
huge.
May, and this has been kind of a major like discourse discussion over the past couple weeks here. Who should get it? Drake May, Stafford, but ultimately, if you're looking at the stats, I mean Stafford has had a hell of a season.
I mean,
So is Drake May, but the thing with Drake May is, he's young, so he's going to get more opportunities at this. When you look at Matthew Stafford and you take into account his age, and he led the NFL with it was like 42 or 46 touchdowns, like that is insane. I
does
heard Tom
this
Brady talk about it. Gronk asked him after the NFL on Fox or whatever. Gronk was in the booth or back at the studio, asked Brady in the booth, Drake May, your fellow Patriot, or, fellow old-timer Matthew Stafford. And Tom Brady went with Stafford. And he was just ripping about the stats, saying about like how, those touchdowns, that's just an insane number to put up. And, they got a pretty good team out in the West. The playoffs are going to be interesting. It's running
so
through Seattle.
where would you put Matthew Stafford in the most underrated quarterback of all time category?
I don't know. I think it just depends on who you ask in terms of like underrated. But I
I
mean,
mean,
maybe
like
this is still underrated, but I would just say
his last year,
underappreciated is
like
what I would say.
in one of his last years of the NFL, he is putting up an MVP season.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Like it's
I think
crazy.
I just think
All
if
those years,
the Rams get the
all
Super
those
Bowl, I wouldn't
years,
be surprised if he's done.
all those years wasted in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean not wasted. He was balling with Megatron, but that was it. No one else on the team. But yeah, I mean, what could have been? I mean, it just goes to show you what like a change of scenery
His
can do
loyalty,
to.
his loyalty
Yeah,
to Detroit.
and eventually he had to play for himself at some point, and it turned out in his favor. Won that Super Bowl immediately, and now he's chasing the second one. Obviously, the NFC is running through Seattle. Seattle with the number 1 seed. I think that's huge for the Seahawks. I think they got the team. They sure as hell got the defense. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the NFC over there. AFC.
We'll see how the quarterback play holds up for
I think
Seattle.
it's purely going to rely on Darnold's quarterback play. You know, it's been up and down over the years for him. Mostly ups over the past 2, as he's the second quarterback to get 14 wins, just behind Tom Brady, who was the first quarterback to do that in back-to-back seasons. But obviously, we remember the letdown last year from Darnold. So I think the Seahawks offense is hoping to avoid that. But I think the Seahawks could get it done this year. Obviously, they got a thing with the Pope, and it seems to be working out every time a new Pope gets elected or whatever. However they do that. Whenever there's a new Pope introduced, the Seahawks have gone to the Super Bowl.
That's insane.
It's a weird stat there for you. And the
Is
AFC,
there color in the Super Bowl logo?
Probably. I haven't looked at it. I know that theory as well.
Keep talking. We got just over 2 minutes.
I think AFC wise is going to be very interesting. I think there's a lot of teams that haven't been tested as well.
There is green in the logo.
Yeah, if I had to guess now, I'd say
there's green, yellow, blue, white, red.
Oh, green. Oh, you said yellow, blue. The Chargers. That's
green. It's blue, pink, yellow, green, gray.
It'll be interesting.
Bills.
I think
no Bills.
I think the Bills could choke, although it'd kill them, because I think this is probably the best opportunity they got. This is really the best one. We'll see what happens with who they play, but maybe the Chargers can get it done based off those colors, man. Okay. One of the worst lines in the league, but I think the Seahawks are going to do well in the NFC, hopefully, and AFC wise. If I had to put money on it right now, I may. I'll dabble in a little Jacksonville action. They've been doing pretty good, but I think that's it. A little pop a shot type of rundown here, trying to go quick, trying to catch everyone up. And hoping to keep these episodes coming, week in, week out for you guys. But this was episode 21 of the Section 4 Fans podcast. Thanks for listening.